Hey everybody, welcome to 5 Steps to Winning Big in Small Business Federal Contracts. I'm Michelle Brown with FedBiz Exchange, and this is our federal contracting series. So in video 1, as we promised, we're going to talk to you about how federal contracts can grow your company exponentially. I mean, you need to think about that, but you need to think about the elements that go into that. So let's face it, it's definitely true. There's a lot of money to be made in federal contracts. The idea of adding federal contracts to your business as an additional stream of income or even as the only income can be totally exhilarating and exciting. And we all know as entrepreneurs, you can get easily excited about things, but you have to consider other things. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about federal contracting in general, the types of dollars that are being spent. Of course, that's just going to get you even more excited, but I want you to have a really good idea of what's going on. It's just a brief overview, and then we'll get into some other things. So in 2017, and I talk about 2017 as though it's gone, is because um, the fiscal year for 2017 is over. We are now in 2018 fiscal year for federal contracting. Those are the kinds of things you need to remember because you need to get a head start. For those of you that are just now trying to learn about this, we're already into 2018. And if you take a look at the scoreboard on here, you will see that the awards that they are showing right here on this map that I have from the government site is contracts already being spent. And I can tell you right now, we're already in the billions, believe it or not. And these are contracts. These are not awards. These are not grants. These are not from federal disasters. These are just contracts. Okay, but right now the total spent for 2017 was $438 billion. That's all types of contracts. Big business got $347.9 billion, right? Small businesses got $90.1 billion. And because I've been in this industry and I watch things and I know what's fair and I know what's unfair and I know how government tries to help small business, it really bothers me that small businesses don't go and get that money. Now, really, we should have done about 92 billion for small businesses, but I mean, so we're short $2 billion, but that's money left on the table for small businesses. I just want you to think about that. But that is the kind of money you're talking about. So all of these myths and people talking about, it's very competitive, it's hard to win, none of that is necessarily true. Are there some flaws in the system? Obviously, but with federal contracting, we have a lot of regulations and a lot of laws that protect us. And when I say us, I represent you as the small business community. So we don't have any excuses. The only excuse that we have is that we don't know how to do it. And that's what I'm here for. So what I want you to think about looking at that $90 billion, which it should be $92 billion, but what I want you to think about is what it takes to win. You got to know what it takes to win. So I'm going to talk to you about that a little bit. You have to have a strategy, and it doesn't have to be a strategy on 15 sheets of paper. I'm going to walk you through some basic thinking for a strategy. And it doesn't have to be anything elaborate, but you have to have one. And we want you to use our 5-video blueprint to do that. You have to have a strategy. But before you even get into this, I need you to think about a couple of things. Okay, so strategy is number one. Resources. Someone has to do this work. And if it's not going to be you as the CEO, then you need to find somebody to do it. I don't care if you pay somebody $12 an hour to do something a few times a week, a few hours a day. It has to be a focus in your business. If not, you're not going to make it. If everyone else is doing the taking care of the daily running of the business and you can do it yourself as the president or CEO, do it yourself. Someone has to do it. So when I say resource, if you have one person, that's good enough. If you have two, even better. But you or someone has to be the resource to getting this done because it is a consistent process. And then research. You don't always have to do research, but in the beginning you need to do some research. And I already talked to you a little bit about the types of research that we're going to do before you get started. It's to your advantage to do the research. First of all, federal agencies don't like it when you don't know about what they do. Secondly, you don't have time to waste like that, and you don't want to get frustrated. So you do your homework first. Your homework is not going to take you that long. Might you have to go back into research sometimes? Yes, you will, but it's worth it, especially if you're talking about taking your company from one level to another. And we're talking a big jump, going from maybe if you're a $30,000 a year company, you've only made $30,000 this year in your business, you're a small business, but you want to make $500,000, you can do it. You just have to focus. And I understand, I get it. You still have to focus on keeping your commercial side of your business going. So yes, it's a challenge, but that's business, that's entrepreneurship. The next thing is marketing. Now, we don't talk about marketing in this blueprint, not because it's not important, but we will talk about that in a separate section. A lot of people think that the federal government is just like a commercial when it comes to marketing. It's not. Marketing, from my perspective, and I know I'm right because it works, from my perspective is you have to bid. Do you need to have a capability statement? And we'll talk about what that is for those of you that don't know, to send out some information to some federal buyers? Yes, of course. Do you need a capability statement to go to industry meetings and to meet people? Yes, of course. But I am telling you, bidding is a part of marketing. When you're not bidding, what do you think? They're just going to give you something? Could that happen? Absolutely. It happens to people all the time. But that doesn't mean that that's the way the system works. You have to bid so that they become familiar with you and your company. You could also be chosen the first time that you bid. I know people that it's happened to. It was very exhilarating for them as well. Bidding. I just talked a lot about that. It's huge. I see people trying to do all of this marketing, or they want us to help them with marketing, and it's not that marketing is not important, but you must bid. That's part of marketing. If you bid, the federal contracting officers, the buyers, they're going to know who you are. Tracking. You have to track all of this information. This diagram right here is a consistent process. You're going to do tracking all the time. You got to know who you talk to. You have to know what you bid on. We have some ideas for you to help you understand how to manage all of this information. Marketing. So marketing, bidding, tracking, talking to people, all of that will be a consistent process. But I just wanted to give you an idea of what it's going to take. And it just takes commitment. All of this means commitment. Does it mean that it's going to take up a lot of your time? Yes. So you need to be organized. Does it mean that you can do your regular business, maybe 30 hours a week and spend 10 hours a week on this? Absolutely. Until you start winning bids, and then you can change that balance if you want to. Absolutely. It's just like what you do to make your business grow right now today. You're going to do the same thing in federal contracting. So every business needs different streams of income. No business should focus only on one stream of income. Should you have a lot of balls in the air? No. I mean, you need to make sure you get one thing going at a time. And federal contracting is very much like that. Oftentimes with different clients and different markets, you can really help your business accelerate. And I'll tell you more of what I mean by that. And you'll hear me talk about that a lot with FedBiz Exchange, because we try to teach you guys about doing business with each other, doing business in other markets. You're not creating new products and new services. You're using the same products, the same services over and over again. You're just taking them to different markets. And that's what this is. So in this case, let's just look at an example, gold insurance. And let's look at how they make most of their money. 25% of their money comes from personal auto insurance. Another 35% comes from homeowners insurance. And then another 40% comes from personal health insurance. So that's a pretty good mix. But what if you find out that your income is fluctuating? You're struggling in the personal auto insurance market. That's a problem. We all panic when we see things like that. But again, this is why you're supposed to be the visionary, doing future planning, thinking about what other markets can you get into. So you look at your personal auto insurance and it's gone from 25% of your income, your revenue, to 10%. So you're losing 15% for some reason. Now, you could also figure out why, but what you could do is figure out why at the same time that you decide to perhaps consider getting into another market. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So you still have your personal auto insurance at 35%. You still have your personal health insurance at 40%. But you're down by 15% of your income. And of course, all of this is based on your goals. So what are you going to do? Maybe you were making 500,000 and now you're down 15% of that 500,000 in your revenues, and you're watching your income go down. You need to sit down and start strategizing and looking at other opportunities. And if you have a team, if there are a few of you, work together on this. There is nothing like business owners deciding that they're going to go into another market, take on another customer type, and they don't share it with their employees or their partners. So remember, if you're the visionary, or even if you're not the visionary, but you're helping your boss, you have to help your boss get to the buy-in. Everybody has to have buy-in. But we're in this situation now, we're losing 15% of our income, our revenue every year. And so what do? This is what we do. We decide to add another stream of income through a different market, selling the same services. Now, my example is going to be very conservative, but this example that I'm about to give you could turn out to be huge. It could turn out to be really huge. So this is what you want to think about as gold insurance. You want to think about, what if I were to start doing federal contracts? On property insurance, I get into federal contracting with the federal government. Of course they need insurance. They need all kinds of insurance. And I know this for a fact. I'm not just using this as an example just to be using it. I'm using it as an example because I had an insurance lady in a class. She came to the class, she paid for the class, and it was a live class, but she did not realize, she was suspicious of the fact that the government might need insurance, but she wasn't sure. Well, when she got to my class, I showed her how all the big guys are getting all the insurance money because no small business insurance people reach out for these contracting dollars under the insurance umbrella. So I use the government property insurance example. So she decides to start doing, and I'm saying she is an example, decides to start doing as gold insurance, the property insurance for government contracting. So she has to go out there and learn the steps to start bidding on contracts with the federal government to insure their property. But She's still able to keep her personal auto insurance market going. She's able to keep her personal homeowners insurance market going at 35%. That doesn't seem to be dropping. If anything, it goes up. And then she's able to keep her personal health insurance market at 40%. So not only has she made a decision to make a change, she took some active steps to figure out what it's going to take. And if you notice something here, government insurance, the federal contracting world for government insurance, I put 25% because that is very realistic for a small business in the insurance market. Very realistic. But look what I didn't do. She could actually, or he could actually, the owner of Gold Insurance could actually be doing federal property insurance, federal auto insurance, and federal building insurance for other types of property that the government has. The government has a lot of real estate that they own. But if this small business Gold Insurance doesn't even try, guess where all the money goes? It goes to the big guys, and they have no problem taking the government's money. So you would be amazed at much how much the larger companies are able to take over this market because small businesses don't even try. So you'll notice the business, okay, it was slow in one area, but what happened was this Gold Insurance added not just the 25%, but they recovered the 10%. And so they're going to go much further than just the $500,000 in revenue that they wanted to create. And if they get a taste of the market with the property insurance through federal, which helped them to get back the 15% that they lost, their numbers could grow exponentially because, like I said on the other slide, what if they start covering government vehicles? What if they decide to do more real estate coverage? It wouldn't be a personal home, of course, but it would be government commercial buildings. So this is how you have to think. You have to think about, what is it going to take, and do I need to add another stream of income, or is this going to be my main income? I would not suggest that you start out just doing federal contracts unless you have another way of living and you're a new business and you've thought this through. My point is that you have to have a strategy. If you have a strategy and how you're going to incorporate this into your business, you've just moved to the next level. But you need to think about it, and you need to think about how you're going to maintain all these other categories. Are they working like clockwork? Are they going to need your help? You know, can you spend 10 hours a week, or can you spend 40 hours a week while everybody else does everything else? I've been in the insurance business before. That's where I started my career, and I will tell you, if you have all these other areas moving, they take care of themselves pretty much. So if you're a one or two man shop, you can focus on this area over here, government contracting, because unless you really have bad service and you have a lot of service issues, pretty much things are going to be quiet for you, unless you're out marketing for these other services or something like that. But just think about how you're going to get this done. And make sure that you have your commercial side of your business sustainable. The government does not like to see struggling people trying to get contracts. We all know that that mix does not work very well. You can't do a good job for them if you're struggling all the time and you're worried about money. So this is what you're doing when you decide to pursue federal contracts. You're actually adding something to your business plan. You're actually deciding to take on another stream of income. And it's important that you think about it that way, because if you don't, you will be all over the place. There has to be a strategy, nothing elaborate. You just have to think it through. Is the plan going to be perfect all the time? Not necessarily, but you can do it. But what do you do to make all of this happen? How are you going to get it done? You find the blueprint. And that means you find the answers before you start. You don't start and then find the answers. This is where the frustration comes in. And as long as I've been doing this, I can understand why small businesses are frustrated. I also work with the SBA sometimes. I definitely pick up the phone to ask them questions about things, but I understand that they don't communicate the way that I do or the way that you do, because I understand the system and I do my homework and I know all the regulations and I know how to find what I need. It's not as complicated to me. But if I think of it in the terms of a small business, it is very intimidating when someone is not telling you the answers, because you have the SBA on one side not being very clear, although they have great programs. You have other training organizations, which there are not a lot of them out there, charging thousands and thousands of dollars to get information that you can't afford to pay that most of the time, and why should you? So we love being in this space because we have an opportunity to really educate the market. There are hundreds and thousands of small businesses all over the country that need this information. And you know how I know? Because I know there are at least 100,000 small businesses that are in what we call SAM, and I'll talk to you about SAM in a minute. That's the federal government system. So if there are hundreds of thousands of businesses, small and large, then we know this information is needed and we know what it feels like to struggle through it. We know you don't have a blueprint. And we know that it takes time for you to learn. It's very overwhelming. When I worked in the pharmaceutical industry, after my insurance career, we had an entire department that's all they did was federal contracting, government contracts, state contracts, other commercial contracts. So there are larger companies that have a whole team of people that's all they do. So you know it may not be easy, but you're willing to do what it takes, and that's why you're here. That's why I wanted to have this discussion with you, because I want to give you some prerequisites for understanding what you're about to step into. Is it highly rewarding? Absolutely. Is it exciting and exhilarating? Absolutely. But you need to understand what it takes. Once you figure out what to do, you'll be rocking and rolling. And that's our goal, is to help you understand what to do. Nothing is perfect, but if you make a mistake, it's not like you can't clean it up. It's not like you can't move back a few steps and start it all over again. But this is a very exciting thing. So we're happy that you're here. We're happy that you want to try. And I got to tell you, I want to see small businesses getting their $92 billion. And we're going to stick with you to show you how. And that's how it works. You must be willing to do what it takes. And in the other videos, I'm going to show you just that. You have to be willing to do what it takes, and then you're rocking and rolling. And the next thing you know, you're a huge success. The next thing you know, you've gone from a $30,000 contract to $1 million contract. And by the way, we'll talk about set-asides, but in set-asides, you can win up to a $4 million contract. There are small businesses out there that are doing it every day, and I can show you who they are, and I will show you who they are. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and I'm glad you're here, and I will see you in the next video. Please don't forget to leave me your comments. Tell me what you need in training, because we need to know. We need to hear it from you. So leave comments. Tell me what you understand and what you don't understand, and tell me what helps, because we're here for you. And the biggest thing is, please go to fedbizexchange.com and list your business, because we're piling it up. We're getting you guys all in the exchange so you can start doing business together. So go to fedbizexchange.com, list your business. It's totally free, and we're looking forward to seeing you in there. See you in the next video.